Yeah, exactly right. You deny yourself the right to be Krishna conscious. In other words, when there's a chance to hear a class, when there's a chance to do devotional service, when there's a chance to have prasadam, where there's a chance to get the Bhagavad Gita, where there's a chance to associate with devotees, you walk away from it. That means that you have become envious of yourself. And it started by being envious of God. And because of that, we fell down to the material world. You deny yourself the opportunity to be Krishna conscious in this lifetime. Yes?
If you're envious of Krishna and yourself, are you envious of everyone then? Because everyone's part and parcel of Krishna.
Yeah, of course. You'll become envious of everyone. But being envious of yourself is the worst, because you're going to deny yourself the opportunity to be Krishna conscious. Okay, now continue reading it, Dwight. Not knowing this, he is actually envious of his own self as well as of others.
He commits violence on other bodies and on his own. He does not care for the supreme control of the personality of Godhead because he has no knowledge. Being envious of the scriptures and the supreme personality of Godhead, he puts forward false arguments against the existence of God and denies his scriptural authority. He thinks himself independent and powerful in every action. He thinks that since no one's equal to him in strength, power, or wealth, he can act in any way and no one can stop him. If he has an enemy who might check the advancement of his sensual activities, he makes plans to cut him down by his own power.
Okay, so now here you have an explanation. Yes?
So when it says if you're envious of Krishna, then that means you're envious of yourself. Then does that mean that if you're envious of yourself, then you're envious of Krishna? No, right? Like
Okay, I understand what you're saying. Well, everything begins from Krishna.
Yeah.
Nothing begins from us. It always begins from Krishna. So if you become envious of Krishna, you automatically will be envious of yourself.
Yeah.
But because of the false ego, let's say someone, let's put it like this, it would not be possible to be envious of yourself unless you became envious of Krishna first.
Oh,
Okay? It's not that things start from us and then go to Krishna. Everything starts from Krishna, either positive or negative, and comes to us. So if you love Krishna, you will love yourself. If you envy Krishna, you'll be envious of yourself. It's not as the opposite is not true. Yeah. And this is important to understand. See, the materialists, they always think the opposite is true. That's why there's such a thing as called anthropomorphism. You know what that means? I think we've covered that word before. Anthropomorphism. A-N-T-H-R-O-P-O M-O-R-I-S-M, yeah. Anthro, A-N-T-H-R-O-M-O-R-P-H-I-S-M, yeah. Let's look that up. Anthropomorphism. You have that? Ganapati, you have that? Yeah. Spell the word slowly.
A-N-T-H-R-O
M-O-R.
P-O
Oh, P-O.
M-O-R-P-H-I-S-M.
Okay, anthropomorphism. Yeah. Let me explain what it is and then you see if I'm right. Anthropomorphism says that you think God is like yourself. So you project from yourself to God. So if you're a human being, you think God is a human being. You see, and there's zoomorphism. Zoomorphism is if you're an animal, you think God is an animal. Right? Okay, go ahead. What does it say?
The attribution of human characteristics or behavior to God, animal, or object.
Yes. the attribution. That
Yeah,
means,
the attribution of human characteristics or
that
behavior.
means you project your own characteristics on God. So, therefore, you think that God is a person like yourself. Or, you project yourself on God. You limit God to your own limitations. So therefore they say, well, if Krishna has one head and two eyes and two ears, it's anthropomorphic. It's conceptualized by human beings. It's God conceptualized by human beings. But it's not true. We're made in the image of God. He's not made in our image. So anthropomorphism is the opposite of what the truth is. You see? And zoomorphism is, you attribute, animal characteristics. So when Krishna appears like a pig or a boar, you think, oh, well, that was because, the pigs think that God is a pig. So everything begins from man. That's the materialistic point of view. And everything begins from God. That's the spiritual point of view. So if you're envious of yourself, it's because we were originally envious of Krishna, and since we're part and parcel of Krishna, if we become envious of Krishna, we become envious of ourselves. And what is the symptom that we're envious of ourselves? We deny ourselves the opportunity to be Krishna conscious. As soon as there's an opportunity to be Krishna conscious, we say no. Like, for example, I'll give you an example. Sometimes people knock on your door and they want to speak about God. So they're either Mormons or they're Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, the Jehovah's Witnesses, they're trained before they go door to door. And the training is, if you knock on the door of a Hare Krishna, don't accept any food from them because it's been offered to a false god. Try this. If there's a Jehovah's Witness knocks on your door, you say, hi, how are you? You say, oh, come in, I want to give you something to eat. See what they say. They say, did you offer that to that idol? And you say, no, it's not an idol. Oh, you did it, okay, I don't want your food. Did that ever happen to you?
No, but if somebody knocks on your door, couldn't you come in and say it wasn't offered to anybody and then make them eat prasadam?
You can do that, yeah. But they'll be very suspicious, though. Because if you say Hare Krishna once, they know who you are. Instead of saying hello, usually we say, oh, Hare Krishna, come in. They say, oh, that's one of them. We can't eat their food. It's offered to idols. You see the way they've been programmed with a false idea. See? Just like Louis Farrakhan. Did you look him up on? What does it say?
I have his Wikipedia page open. So it talks that he's an American minister of a religious group called Nation of Islam.
Yeah.
So maybe if I click on it, it will tell you what the philosophy of his Nation of Islam is. Yeah, belief and theology. The main belief of Nation of Islam and its follower is that there is no God other than Allah. Okay, what else does he say? The official beliefs have been published. And maybe message to the black man in America.
Okay.
So it's specific. It's, the message of Allah is only for black men.
Right.
So,
there you go. That's racism right there. Yeah. Is that all they say?
They have something about cosmology that they say moon was once a part of Earth.
The moon was once part of the earth, okay?
The one we call Earth and the other is the moon. Okay, but it was all part of the Earth. Then they have another ideology, what they call separatism, which is what the Muslims want, since we cannot get along in equal people.
That's probably that's a biased analysis.
Teachings.
They
yeah.
probably wrote that themselves. Yeah. If you get a real explanation, then you'll see how crazy their beliefs are. Yes.
What's the difference between being Mormon and being Christian?
Being what?
Mormon and being Christian.
And being Christian. Okay. The Mormons' religion was started by a man named Joseph Smith in the 1840s and 50s. And Joseph went up on a mountain in New York State, and he claims that God spoke to him and revealed the truth to him. So he wrote his own Bible. The Mormons have their own Bible. They call it the Bible, but it's not the same Bible. It's the Mormon Bible. And they claim that there's something called the 10 lost tribes of Israel. There were 12 tribes of Israel. Only 2 of them are existing today. 10 of them got lost. And Joseph Smith said, one of those tribes came to South America, intermarried with native Indians, and then gradually came up to America, and those are the Mormons.
Yashomati Nandana Brajavara Nagara Gokula Ranjana Kana Yashomati Nandana Brajavara Nagara Gokula Ranjana Kana Gopi Paranadhana Madana Manohara Kaliya Damana Vedana. It's fine. Amala Harina Mami Amilasa. Amala Harina Mami Amilasa. Vipina Purandara Navina Nagara Bara. Bamsi Badana Savasa Brajajana Palana Surakula Nashana Nanda Godana Rakavala Govinda Madhava Navanita Taskara Sundara Nanda Gopala Yamuna Tata Chara Gopi Basana Hara Rasa Rasika Kripamoya Shri Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natavara Bhakti Vinodasha Yashomati Nandana Brajavara Nagara Gokula Ranjana Kana Nandana Brajavara Nagara Gokula Ranjana Kana Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha, Nila Madhava Radha, Nila Madhava Radhe. Jaya Radha, Nila Madhava Radha, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Sita Ram, Jaya Sita Ram, Jaya Sita Ram, Jaya Lakshman Hanuman. Jaya Sita Ram, Jaya Sita Ram, Jaya Sita Ram, Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha.
Okay, so we've discussed Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam, Black Muslims. We discussed a little bit Mormonism. But let's study Krishna consciousness. Now, if you explain to a Mormon that God is bluish black and he lifted up a mountain when he was 7 years old, do you think he would think that that makes sense, or that's some weird idea of God? Exactly right. See, just like we say, Joseph Smith said that one of the lost tribes of Israel came to South America, intermarried with the Indians, native Indians of South America, and eventually came up to New York State. And the Mormons are descendants of that lost tribe of Israel. And then Joseph Smith went up on a mountain in New York State, and God spoke to him, and he wrote his own Bible, the Mormon Bible, where he explains the history of the Mormons in terms of, the lost tribe of Israel. So we would say, well, that's crazy, But if you tell a Mormon, God is blue, and he lifted up a mountain when he was 7 years old, he said, what kind of crazy religion is that? And there's reincarnation. It's all crazy, reincarnation. You see, so, we might say they're crazy, but they'll say we're crazy. Now the question is, Prabhupada wrote an article, who is crazy? So therefore, why are we discussing all these things? Because we should learn to see not with our eyes or our senses, but we should see through Shastra. That's called Shastra Chaksus, right? And Krishna explains that in the 13th chapter. Let me see where that verse is. Shastra Chaksus. Yeah. 679, it's not 724, 1 second. 724. Okay, so in 15th chapter, verse number 10, he says, Pasyanti Jnana Chaksusa. So there's Shastra Chaksus and Jnana Chaksus. The foolish cannot understand how a living entity can quit his body, nor can they understand what sort of body he enjoys under the spell of the modes of nature. But one whose eyes are trained in knowledge can see all this. And Prabhupada says the word Jnana Chaksusa is very significant. Without knowledge, one cannot understand how a living entity leaves his present body, nor what form of body he is going to take in the next life, nor even why he is living in a particular type of body. This requires a great amount of knowledge understood from Bhagavad Gita and similar literatures heard from a bona fide spiritual master. One who is trained to perceive all these things is fortunate. Okay, so what are we doing? We're being trained to see life through the Shastra, not through Harry Potter, not through the internet, not through science books that say everything started with a big bang and we all come from monkeys and you can choose whatever you want to be. You want to be, if you're a little girl, you want to be a boy, you can be a boy. And if you're a little boy, you want to be a girl, you can be a girl. Right? These are all phony junk ideas, but everyone's competing to put junk into your brain. It's just like if you have junk, you have to pay to have it taken away. You just can't go out in the street and leave it on the street. You'll get fined, right? So, if you have junk ideas in your mind, how do you get rid of them? First of all, you shouldn't let anyone put a junk idea in your mind. But let's say you have junk ideas in your mind. Now you have to pay. If you have junk in your house, you have to pay to get rid of it, right? So now, how do you get rid of the junk ideas in your mind? You have to pay. What is the pay? Coming to Srimad Bhagavatam class every Saturday and Sunday. That's paying. It's one way of paying. So instead of sleeping, instead of, watching television, instead of playing video games, you come to the class and hear Bhagavad Gita, and little by little, you can get all the junk ideas out of the mind. First, you have to recognize it's junk. That's the hardest part, because most people think those junk ideas are the truth. Okay, so instead of saying Shastra Chakshus, it says Jnana Chakshus. Let's see, also 765. Let's look at that one. 765. 765. Okay. As described before, the Shastra Vidhi, or the direction of the Shastras, is given to different castes and orders of human society. Everyone is expected to follow these rules and regulations. So, Shastra Vidhi means, that's the verse. Ya Shastra Vidim Utshidcha Vartate Kamakarataha Nasasidim Avapnati Nasukam Na Param Gitim. 16th chapter, verse 23. 16th chapter, verse 23. Who wants to read the verse? Yes, Ria.
The translation of
Huh?
the
Yeah.
He who discards scriptural injunctions and acts according to his own whims attains neither perfection nor happiness nor the supreme destination.
Go ahead, read a little bit.
Purport. As described before, the Shastra Vidhi, or the direction of the Shastra, is given to the different castes and orders of human society. Everyone is expected to follow these rules and regulations. If one does not follow them and acts whimsically according to his lust, greed, and desire, then he never will be perfect in his life. In other words, a man may theoretically know all these things, but if he does not apply them in his own life, then he is to be known as the lowest of mankind. In the human form of life, a living entity is expected to be sane and to follow the regulations given for elevating his life to the highest platform. But if he does not follow them, then he degrades himself. But even if he follows the rules and regulations and moral principles and ultimately does not come to the stage of understanding the Supreme Lord, then all his knowledge becomes spoiled. And even if he accepts the existence of God, if he does not engage himself in the service of the Lord, his attempts are spoiled. Therefore, one should gradually raise himself to the platform of Krishna consciousness and devotional service. It is then and there that he can attain the highest perfectional stage, not otherwise. The word kama karta is very significant. A person who knowingly violates the rules acts in lust. He knows that this is forbidden, but he still acts. This is called acting whimsically. He knows that this should be done, but he does not do it. Therefore, he is called whimsical. Such persons are destined to be condemned by the Supreme Lord. Such persons cannot have the perfection which is meant for the human life. The human life is especially meant for purifying one's existence, and one who does not follow the rules and regulations cannot purify himself, nor can he attain the real stage of happiness.
Okay, so there's Shastra Vidhi, following the rules and regulations of the Shastra, and there's Jnana Chaksus, is seeing through the scriptures. And there's also Shastra Chaksus, which means the same thing, seeing through the scriptures. Okay, so if you learn to see through the eyes of Krishna, as he explains, the modes of material nature, how they act, and so forth, then you'll never be misled. But if you see through the ideas of imperfect people, you will be misled all the time. So why are we discussing all these different things? To understand the importance of learning to see life through the instructions of Krishna and not through speculative concepts. Ideology is an idea that forms a way of seeing life, right? And most of those ideas or ideologies are wrong. Jai Shri Shri Radha Madhava Ki Jai. So let's look at. Let's go back to what we're doing. We were on verse 14th chapter. Huh? Yeah, 14:7. Okay. Did we finish 14:6? No. Okay, so let's read the whole purport of 14:6. Who's going to read? Shrestha, you want to read? 14:6.
So, should I just start from the beginning?
Yeah.
O sinless one, the modes of goodness being purer than the others is illuminating and it frees one from all sinful reactions. Those situated in that mode become conditioned by a sense of happiness and knowledge. Purport. The living entities conditioned by material nature are of various types. One is happy, another is very active, and another is helpless.
So the happy one is the mode of goodness, very active is the mode of passion, and helpless is the mode of ignorance. Go ahead.
All these types of psychological manifestations are causes of the entity's conditioned status and nature.
Okay, what does psychological mean? Psycho means like the mind, right? And logi means the science of. Is that right? Is it? You look up the word psychological. Mind, right? And logi means the science of. Huh?
Study of the mind.
Okay, study of. All right. So, if Prabhupada is explaining 3 types of psychological mindsets. One is the mode of goodness, one is mode of passion, one is mode of ignorance. So if you understand this, you become a psychologist. What's a psychologist, Advitya? Someone who's an expert in what? How the mind works. Yes. That's a psychologist, right? Of course, the psychologists today, they don't understand anything at all. But now you can become a real psychologist by studying this. Okay, go ahead.
How they are differently conditioned is explained in this section of Bhagavad Gita. The mode of goodness is first considered. The effect of developing the mode of goodness in the material world is that one becomes wiser than those otherwise conditioned. A man in the mode of goodness is not so much affected by material miseries, and he has a sense of advancement in material knowledge. The representative type is the Brahmana, who is supposed to be situated in the mode of goodness. This sense of happiness is due to understanding that, in the mode of goodness, one is more or less free from sinful reactions.
Okay, you see that? The mode of goodness, one is more or less free from sinful reactions. In other words, one doesn't commit sins. That's how they become free of sinful reactions. In other words, if you don't use a curse word, then you don't use bad language. You only use good language, right? So the way to become free from sinful reactions is not to commit sins, right? And if you don't commit sins, then you won't have sinful reactions. So that's the mode of goodness. The mode of goodness, there's knowledge. And by that knowledge, one avoids making mistakes. It's only out of ignorance that people make mistakes. Now, there's two ways of having ignorance. One is willful ignorance, and the other is unwillful ignorance. What's the difference between willful ignorance and unwillful ignorance? Like Why are you scratching like that? You know, go ahead. Don't scratch and don't say like Go ahead. No.
Willful ignorance is like you know it's bad, but you still do it.
Exactly right.
And unwillful is you don't know it's bad,
But you still do it. Yeah, you do it. Yes. So, therefore, when you have knowledge, you don't willfully commit sin and you don't unwillfully commit sin. Right? Because with knowledge, you can recognize something as sinful, so you won't unwillfully do it. And if you have knowledge, you will not willfully do it either. Right? So we're learning this 16th chapter, 14th chapter, modes of material nature, so that we don't willfully or unwillfully commit sins, and therefore we won't have any sinful what? Reactions. Go ahead. And then what happens when you don't have these sinful? You're happy. Happy. This is the formula for being happy in life. You want to be happy? Okay, then you have to learn this. Go ahead.
Actually, in the Vedic literature, it is said that the mode of goodness means greater knowledge and a greater sense of happiness. The difficulty here is that when a living entity is situated in the mode of goodness, he becomes conditioned to feel that he is advanced in knowledge and is better than others.
So there's a downside of the mode of goodness. What's the downside of it? Yes, wait. Yeah, you become puffed up, proud that you have this knowledge. You're happy, other people are stupid, therefore that's why they're unhappy. So you become puffed up. That's the danger. Should a devotee be puffed up and arrogant and proud? No. Those are bad qualities. And they're sinful, actually. What happens if it's sinful? You'll get a sinful reaction. Go ahead.
In this way, he becomes conditioned. The best examples are the scientist and the philosopher. Each is very proud of his knowledge, and because they generally improve their living conditions, they feel a sort of material happiness. This sense of advanced happiness in conditioned life makes them bound by the mode of goodness of material nature.
Okay, so advanced happiness in conditioned life. What's wrong with that? Some people say, I don't see anything wrong with that. In fact, I want that. I want advanced happiness in conditioned life. What's wrong with that? Yes?
It's happiness without Krishna. So,
Well, look, how can you really be happy if you're still in conditioned life? Right? It's like being happy in jail. So can you actually be happy in jail? Well, you can, but still your freedom is strictly restricted. Yes?
Also that most of the advanced happiness and conditions is not
Yes. If it's conditioned life, it's not going to be eternal. It's called a fool's paradise. What is a fool's paradise? Fool's paradise. Anybody know? Madhava, you know what a fool's paradise is? And give an example of it. Huh? Okay. Wait. Fool's paradise. Well, it's where he thinks he's enjoying himself.
Ignorance is bliss.
Fake,
Yes.
fake paradise, like thinking that it's
Yeah, how can it be a fool's paradise? Like it's like a casino, you know. If you could take pictures of people going into the casino, their eyes are bright, they're smiling, they're joking, they think, you know, this is one of the best things that I've ever done in my life, you know. But, you know, what is a casino? It's a place where the four regulative principles are broken immediately, as soon as you walk in. Right? That's how... But if you say that to someone, are you crazy, man? I go there every weekend because, you know, I have a great time, you know, I have a wonderful time there, you know. I say, that's why it's called Fool's Paradise. It's actually hell. Because the four regulative principles are broken almost immediately as soon as you walk in. But some people think it's paradise. So that's the fool's paradise. What's the devotee's paradise? Yeah, Vaikuntha, where there's no kunta, no more anxiety, just Hare Krishna, the chanting, dancing, feasting. If you want to have a good time, you will chant, you will dance, and you'll feast. Well, that's what we do here all the time. Chant, dance, and feast. So it's not a fool's paradise. Although materialists would say it's a fool's paradise. They're just wasting their time. They're going there singing, dancing, eating food. You know, they think this is life. Yeah. But what do? They'll pay to go to a nightclub to eat, dance, and chant. You know, and talk nonsense all night long. You know, so what's better, going to the nightclub to eat, dance, and chant, or coming to the temple to eat, dance, and chant? Yeah, because there's no nonsense going on. Well, there might be some nonsense the kids will be doing, but most of the people are not. Okay, so go ahead, finish reading.
So, this sense of advanced happiness in conditioned life makes them bound by the mode of goodness of material nature. As such, they are attracted toward working in the mode of goodness, and as long as they have an attraction for working in that way, they have to take some type of body in the modes of nature. Thus, there is no likelihood of liberation, or of being transferred to the spiritual world. Repeatedly, one may become a philosopher, a scientist, or a poet, and repeatedly become entangled in the same disadvantages of birth and death. But due to the illusion of the material energy, one thinks that that sort of life is pleasant.
So, some of the hardest people to convince about Krishna consciousness are educated people. You know, PhDs, philosophers, and people who have written books, you know, how to succeed on the stock market, right? So if you say, well, here, one time I met a very famous American writer, and he was very famous, and I tried to give him a free book about Krishna, and he didn't even touch the book. He just said, what kind of book is that? And I said, well, it's about philosophy of life. He said, what philosophy of life? I said, it's a Bhagavad Gita, a famous book about philosophy of life. It's Bhagavad Gita. I said, what language is that? I said, Sanskrit. He said, does that have to do with God? I said, yes. I don't want it. And this guy was very famous. Very, very famous. And people look up to him like he's some guru. right? He refused to take the book for free. He said, I don't want it. He didn't even look at the book. He just asked me those questions, and right away he said, no, I don't want it. So, is he envious of himself? Yeah. Yeah. And a couple years later, right before he died, he sent a message to AP. AP is the Associated Press. It's a big news organization, right? So this was his last thought before he died. He said, I never thought this would happen to me, but now it's happening. And he said, and I don't know what's next. And that was it. Now, do you understand? That's the last thing he said in his life. First of all, he said, I never thought this would happen to me. That right there is ignorance, right? Anyone who's born is destined to die. He said, I never thought this was going to happen to me. And he said, and I don't know what's going to happen next. Well, that means he wasted his whole life. He had a whole life to become self-realized. And instead of becoming self-realized, he wrote a whole bunch of nonsense books, became famous, made a lot of money. And when I offered him the Bhagavad Gita, he refused to take it when he found out it had something to do with God. And now, the last thing he says is that basically he never thought he was going to die, and now he's dying, and he doesn't know what's going to happen. Right? So, is he actually a great philosopher? People thought he was a great philosopher, great writer. Is he actually great? No, he's a low class person, per se. So, and he's envious of himself. He denied himself the one opportunity he had to become Krishna conscious. And he doesn't know what's going to happen. So that's a wasted life. Some people say, oh, no, his books are so great, and even if you read his books, they're basically nonsense, I used to think he was a great writer. After I met him, I had a doubt then, because, he refused the Bhagavad Gita. Then I looked again at the books. I had read one or two of his books. I looked again at it, and I realized his whole book was nonsense. So, we don't realize what is great and what is not great, what is a successful life and what is not a successful life. But when you have real examples like this, through doing Sankirtan, then it strikes you. Then you suddenly understand, and you understand. I used to think he was a great guy. He was not a great guy. But because I was ignorant, I thought he was a great guy. In other words, he fooled me. See, they're such clever people. You get fooled by them. The way they use their words, and they're famous, and everyone's talking about him. And you think, oh, he must be a great person. When I actually saw him, and he refused the book, then I realized this guy's low class, a nobody. He's actually a nobody. He's not a real human being. He's just an animal, right? And he proved it with his last statement. After a whole lifetime, he didn't know what was going to happen to him, and he didn't think he was going to die. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, finished. It's done. Okay. Okay, that's the mode of goodness. Let's read the mode of passion next. Who wants to read the mode? Let's get a passionate person to read it. Anybody? No. Okay, Arush, go ahead. Yes. Arush is not passionate. He's passionate about Krishna consciousness, yes.
The mode of passion is born of...
Read the verse first. Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
The mode of passion is born of ultimate desires... Unlimited desires and longings. O son of Kunti, and because of this, the embodied living entity is bound to material fruitive actions.
Okay.
Purport. The mode of passion is characterized by the attraction between the man and woman. Woman has attraction for man, and the man has attraction for woman. This is called the mode of passion. And when the mode of passion is increased, one develops the hankering for material enjoyment. He wants to enjoy sense gratification. For sense gratification, a man in the mode of passion wants some honor in society or in the nation. He wants to have a happy family with nice children, wife and house. These are the products of the mode of passion. As long as one is hankering after these things, he has to work very hard. Therefore, it is clearly stated here that he becomes associated with the fruits of his activities and thus becomes bound by such activities. In order to please his wife, children, and society, and to keep up his prestige, one has to work. Therefore, the whole material world is more or less in the mode of passion. Modern civilization is considered to be advanced in the standard of the mode of passion. Formerly, the advanced condition was considered to be in the mode of goodness. If there is no liberation for those in the mode of goodness, what speak of those who are entangled in the mode of passion?
Okay, so many, many years ago, there was one devotee here. He was a really nice person. He's still a nice person. And one day he told me, he said, Prabhu, he said, I'm never going to get married. I said, really? Yeah, I have no desire to get married. I want to be a brahmachari the rest of my life. I said, oh, it's great, wonderful. 2 years later, he got married. Now, this is very interesting, see, because he was one of these people, once he makes his mind up, that's it, it's fixed, right? 2 years later, he was married. So, you see, the whole world is based on this attraction, between men and women. Women get attracted to men get attracted to women. Actually, the attraction should be for Krishna and Srimati Radharani. Then, one does not get married because they're attracted. They get married because, as a matter of duty. Now, is there a necessity to get married? No, there isn't. Some people never get married their whole life. Narada Muni never got married, right? But if one wants to get married, there's nothing wrong with it. But it should not be based on this idea of attraction. Like, for example, when Surpanaka changed her physical body into a beautiful young girl, and she came up to Lord Rama and said, will you marry me? And he said, oh, I'm already married. Ask my brother, he's not married yet. So she goes over to Lakshman and said, will you marry me? He said, oh, my brother is much more handsome than me. You should go and marry him. And she said, but he's got a wife. He said, but still, he's much better than me. So what does Surpanaka want to do? She wants to kill Sita so that Ram will marry her. You see. And then eventually they understood that, she's Ravana's sister. She's a Rakshasa. And she changed back into her real form, and she got angry. And then, Lakshman cut off her nose and her ears. Right? She was already ugly. She probably looked better without a nose, Anyway, so you see, demons, they can, use makeup, use Botox, use plastic surgery, and all of a sudden, and put on dresses and high heels and all kinds of things. And men do that too now. Also, they also do plastic surgery, and they do protein shakes and all this stuff, just so they look handsome and strong and virile, and women do it. And the whole thing is based on attraction. And attraction is I mean, you can see Surpanaka was ugly, but she changed her body and looked like she was beautiful. And who else did that? Putana did the same thing. Putana was, 12 miles long and ugly, and everything. She looked like a goddess. She transferred. See, demons, they have this ability to have mystical powers. They're superior to human beings. They have mystical powers. They can do things like that. Nowadays, they don't have mystical powers, but they have plastic surgery. They have, hip replacement, knee replacement. Now they have full head replacement. They started with face replacement, but now they have full head replacement. If you don't like the way you look, they'll cut your head off and put, the head of Louis Farrakhan on you. Huh? I don't know. I mean, they haven't successfully done it yet, but they're trying. Full head replacement. They have done full face replacement. That they've done. Yeah. I don't know how they're going to do it. I mean, Shiva did it. He cut off Daksha's head, and then he put back a head of a donkey, or a goat. Yeah. Huh? Yeah, Ganesha also. It happened to Ganesha, too. Lord Shiva is like, he's like a surgeon, right? It's not impossible to get a full head surgery. It's not impossible because Lord Shiva did it. That means it's possible. Okay, so here we see the mode of passion. So you're going to see this, especially when you get to middle school and high school. So do you see it in middle school? It's attraction, girls, I think he's cute, and the boys say, oh, she's cool, Is that there?
Yeah,
it's always there. It gets worse in high school, and it really gets bad in college. So you don't go to these schools to get educated and, how to become brahmachari, brahmacharini. You go to these schools, you get educated, and, he's really cute, and, he's really, look at his abs. So, and this is not the criterion for getting married, just because someone could be a complete demon but have beautiful body and beautiful face, and you don't even know if it's real or not. It could be plastic surgery, right? Or it could be, a false head that was put on, had a full head amputation and surgery, right? You don't know. Well, that's coming. That's coming soon. Okay, so this mode of passion. See, once you get into the mode of passion, what happens? Well, it explains a little bit later. Let's look at this, just so you have an idea. Let's look in the 18th chapter, where it says. It says, 18th chapter, 38th verse. That happiness which is derived from the contact of the senses with their objects, and which appears like nectar at first, but poison at the end, is said to be of the nature of passion. Now, I'm going to let Radhanand Prabhu explain to us the perception of an object. Right? Explain to us the perception of an object and what we actually see and what we don't see. Because this is very important. So here it says, that happiness which is derived from the contact of the senses with their objects. So, like, let's say you go to school, right? And there's a You're in middle school or high school. Jai Shri Shri Radha Nila Madhava Ki Jai. So, I don't know if they allow this. I don't know if they have strict dress codes in public schools. I don't think so. Yeah. Okay. Huh? You do. So some girl comes in with a mini skirt, would they tell her you're not dressed properly? That's where your dress should be. Okay. So can they come in like with spandex on and a mini skirt? Okay, yes? Okay. They break it, right? So it's called the gradually rising skirt, right? So it starts at your knees, then one day it's a little bit higher, 2 inches higher. The next day it's a little bit higher. And then it's a full-blown mini skirt, right? But you didn't notice it right away. It went up little by little. Right? So, okay, go ahead. So probably explain to us in the context of this verse. That happiness which is derived from the contact of the senses with their objects, and which appears like nectar at first, but poison at the end, is said to be of the nature of passion.
So, in the context of this verse, the way we understand is basically the senses, they are naturally attracted to sense objects, right? So, if we are passing by and, there's a nice smell or fragrance comes from a restaurant, like, oh, that's like a nice food, maybe we should go and eat it. Or when you're going by and there's a music concert that's going on and there's a music coming, oh, that's nice music, let me go there. So the attraction of the senses is for the sense object is natural, natural on a material level. But when senses overpower mind and intelligence, the discrimination is lost. And
discrimination, you know what discrimination means? Yes. Being able to tell right from wrong, good from bad, spiritual from nonsense, and so forth. Material. Huh? Yeah, okay.
And when the discrimination is gone, what appears attractive, because senses are attracted to the sense objects, one indulges in gratifying those senses and it appears very pleasing in the beginning. But because there was a lack of discrimination of what is appropriate, at a later on at much later stage, they realize that, I should not have done it. And this example we see in Bhagavad Gita. In the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, we see the analogy of mind, intelligence, senses in the form of a horse and a chariot, where the horses are compared to the senses, but the horses have to be controlled by a driver through the reins, and the driver is not expert in controlling the horses will basically go wherever they want, and the end result is you will end, and the chariot will just end in a ditch. They have to be restrained through regulation through regulation, regulated sense control and in proper direction. So,
right. Okay, so this mode of passion, happiness will begin like nectar and end up like poison. So if you can't recognize this, and what is the mode of passion? It's attraction to an object not based on intelligence. It's just based on the senses. Just like I might never take a bath, but I put on perfume every day. So you think, oh, he smells nice. But you don't realize I'm never taking a bath. I'm just using perfume on my clothing, so you can't actually smell my body, right? Otherwise, if you smelled my body, you say, wait a minute, this stinks. Do you take a bath? I said, no, I never take a bath. And then you understand, oh my God, I thought the person was taking a bath because it smelled good, but actually he never takes a bath, he just puts perfume on. See? Yeah. So then later on, after you find out the truth, then it's misery. You married someone who never takes a bath. Go ahead.
So like another thing, like kids like candy, like. But
because it's nice colors.
Color, yeah.
It's got a little writing on it, M&M, or it's got,
and the end result is different. Like they spoil their teeth, their health, and everything, basically.
Yeah.
It's similarly like grown-up adults. Like what we are trying to do is like we are trying to get everything better for our senses. It might be what we see, what we want to hear, good music, good pictures, good food. For our senses, basically, we are trying to, but those are leading in a wrong direction, basically.
Well, see, the connection of the senses to the object of the senses without intelligence will lead to misery. You have to learn to see things through the Shastra or through the Vedic knowledge. If you see things simply through the senses without any Vedic knowledge, you're going to be tricked. You're going to be tricked. See, even Mother Yashoda was tricked. She thought Putana, who came in as looking like a Devi from the demigods, she thought she was a pure woman and gave Krishna to her so that he could drink her milk. And she put poison on her breast to kill Krishna. And Mother Yashoda didn't see that. So it's very easy, if we only deal on the level of the senses and the object, it's very easy to be misled. You have to have knowledge. You have to understand how the modes of material nature are working and have knowledge to be able to understand things correctly. Otherwise, if you just understand things through your senses, you're going to be misled, 100%. And I don't want to give too many examples, but, you just read the newspaper, you'll see thousands of examples every day of people who were misled by their senses, and they got into big trouble. Big trouble, and sometimes it causes death. Just like the famous thing, right? It's almost every week you hear this. Someone took a selfie of themselves on the...
On the edge of a cliff or something.
Edge of, what do you call it? The... huh? No, it's the, Yeah, Niagara Falls is one, yeah. No, what was it called? The Grand Canyon. And the Grand Canyon, they were going like this, As soon as they took the picture, they fell over and died. No, I'm not kidding you. Why don't you look it up? Look it up. It happens almost every week, it happens. Or they take a picture, on a high building, they're on the ledge, and they take a picture like that. It looks like, they're fallen. They haven't fallen yet, but as soon as they take the picture, they trip and they fall and they kill themselves.
259 people.
Yeah.
259 people reported dead seeking perfect picture.
Wow.
It's opening up.
259 people where?
Between 2011 and 2017.
In the Grand Canyon.
This is all over the world.
All over the world.
Yeah.
Yes.
259. These are reported.
Step off a building. Yeah, see, those are very dangerous games to play. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so all this is the mode of passion and ignorance. So now let's read the next verse and then we'll stop. The mode of ignorance. Who wants to read? No, you are reading. Who wants to read? You want to read? We have to hurry up. It's getting late. Go ahead. Verse number 8. Give the microphone.
The purport?
Yeah.
Okay. In this verse, this is the specific...
Read the verse first.
Okay. O son of Bharata, know that the mode of darkness, born of ignorance, is the delusion of all embodied living entities. The results of this mode are madness...
Madness means insanity, craziness. Okay?
Indolence...
Indolence means laziness.
and sleep, which binds the conditioned soul. In this verse, the specific
Which bind.
Which
binds would be singular. Bind was plural. So it's a plural thing. It's three things: madness, indolence, sleep, which bind the conditioned soul. If it was just madness, then you would say binds. Okay. Go ahead.
Which bind the conditional soul. In this verse, the specific application of the word thu is very significant. This means that the mode of ignorance is a very peculiar qualification of the embodied soul. The mode of ignorance is just the opposite of the mode of goodness. The mode of goodness, by development of knowledge, one can understand what is what, but the mode of ignorance is just the opposite. Everyone under the spell of the mode of ignorance becomes mad, and the mad man cannot understand what is what. Instead of making advancement, one becomes degraded. The definition of the mode of ignorance is stated in the Vedic literature.
Vastu yatat mya jnana varakam viparyaya jnana janakam tamaha. Go ahead.
Under the spell of ignorance, one cannot understand a thing as it is. Will also die.
No, wait a minute.
Sorry. One cannot understand a thing as it is. For example, everyone can see that his grandfather has died, and therefore he will also die. Man is mortal. The children that he conceives will also die. So death is sure. Still, people are madly accumulating money and working very hard all day and night, not caring for the eternal spirit. This is madness. In their madness, they are very reluctant to make advancement in spiritual understanding. Such people are very lazy. When they are invited to associate for spiritual understanding, they are not much interested. They are not even active like a man who is like the man who is controlled by the mode of passion. Thus, another symptom of one embedded in the mode of ignorance is that he sleeps more than required. 6 hours of sleep is sufficient, but a man in the mode of ignorance sleeps at least 10 or 12 hours a day. Such a man appears to be very always dejected, and is addicted to intoxicants and sleeping. These are the symptoms of a person conditioned by the modes of ignorance.
You know anybody like that? Yeah. Okay. So, now, look up on the internet. Indian man does the Bhangra and drops dead. Bhangra is what we do at Ananda Mela. Bhangra is a type of dance. You never heard of Aloha Bhangra? He's going to show you. He's going to show you the video. It's a very interesting video. No, they just dropped dead. They had a heart attack and died. The Indian man does Bhangra and dies, or dances Bollywood and dies. One or the other. You should see this. You should see. Yes, go ahead. He won the dance contest. So he danced up onto the stage from the audience, and he dropped dead. Watch this video. Well, he'll show it twice. Sounds like India. Sounds like Mumbai. He just died. He died. That was quick. That was quick. Right? Now, how old was he? He's probably like 60 years old. 60. He won the Bollywood dance contest. It's called Bollywood. Yeah, he won the Bollywood dance contest, and he got so excited. He danced. He was in the audience. He danced up to the stage, got on the stage, went around once or twice, and dropped dead. Does that sound like a successful life? No. It sounds like real ignorance, right? So, I mean, we're not making fun of it, but I'm just trying to show you how people, just because they're 60 years old doesn't mean they know anything. And just because you're 12 or 13 doesn't mean that you have to be ignorant. It's better you learn these things now, and you can save your whole life from being in the modes of passion and ignorance, being controlled by the modes of passion and ignorance and even goodness. The sooner you get to the mode of transcendental goodness, the better. Then you're free. You're not going to make all these mistakes. You're not going to be misled by false ideas and so forth. Okay, so your homework is explain. I mean, you can read other verses in this chapter. Explain. You don't have to write a long thing. Explain what is the mode of goodness, what is the mode of passion, what is the mode of ignorance. So if you can explain it, then you can recognize it when you're in those modes, when they're affecting you. No, you can. No, we studied 6, 7, and 8, right? But if you want to read more verses in the chapter to get more information about what is the mode of goodness, what is the mode of passion, what is the mode of ignorance, you can. But your homework is to explain how to recognize these three modes. Okay? Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita Granth Raj ki jai. And that's homework for tomorrow. Tomorrow. So Shrestha did homework from last week. You can read it now. Let's hear her homework. Anybody else do homework from last week? Okay, Ria. Okay, that's okay. Okay, Ria did her homework, yes. And Pranashaki Dasi did her homework. Go ahead, read out loud with a microphone. We want to hear it.
So the assignment was explain how Bhakti Yoga is the most superior yoga using Bhagavad Gita 6th chapter 46th and 47th verse, 8th chapter 28th verse, and Srimad Bhagavatam 1st canto 2nd chapter 7th verse. And then additionally explain the two biggest benefits of Bhakti Yoga. So there are many types of yoga. However, the underlying definition of true yoga is linking our consciousness with the Supreme Absolute Truth, as Srila Prabhupada explained. There are many different types of yoga which might be able to help you reach the Supreme Absolute Truth. However, Bhakti Yoga is the direct connection with Krishna, which is the underlying reason of why Bhakti is superior to any other type of yoga. In Bhagavad Gita 6th chapter 46th verse, Krishna states that one who is a yogi is greater than all others. Then in Bhagavad Gita 6th chapter 47th verse, Krishna states that of the yogis, one who performs loving devotional service is certainly the highest of all. In this verse, Krishna is referring to the bhaktas, those who perform devotional service. Srila Prabhupada explains that one can avoid worshipping a respectable man or a demigod and may be called discourteous, but one cannot avoid serving the Supreme Lord without being thoroughly condemned. This is why karma yogis and jnana yogis are mostly unsuccessful. Karma yogis become derailed through their fruitive activities, and jnana yogis
become what? Derailed?
Derailed.
Okay.
Through their fruitive activities, and jnana yogis may become corrupted through false teachings. However, bhakti
they can become what? Corrupted.
Corrupted.
See, false teachings, false ideas.
Yeah. However, bhakti yogis are forever binded to Krishna through their love. In actuality, All kinds of yoga practices are some kind of form to bring them towards bhakti yoga. So it is not said that one shouldn't perform other kinds of yoga. However, bhakti yoga is the destination towards the end, which means karma yogis and jnana yogis have a long path before they reach the ultimate bhakti yoga. Additionally, the main problem of all these different kinds of yogis is that due to partial knowledge, they get stuck in one of these realms. As Srila Prabhupada says in the purport of Bhagavad Gita,
partial meaning incomplete knowledge.
Incomplete, yeah. Says in the purport of Bhagavad Gita, 6th chapter, 47th verse, factually, bhakti yoga is the ultimate goal, but to analyze bhakti yoga minutely, one has to understand these other yogas. The yogi who is progressive is therefore on the true path of eternal good fortune. One who sticks to a particular point and does not make further progress is called by that particular name. Karma yogi, jnana yogi, or dhyana yogi, raja yogi, hatha yogi, etc. If one is fortunate enough to come to the point of bhakti yoga, it is to be understood that he has surpassed all other yogas. Therefore, to become Krishna conscious, it is the highest state of yoga. Hence, bhakti yoga is the ultimate yoga, and the two big benefits are as follows: knowledge and detachment. As one increases their transcendental devotional service, knowledge and detachment immediately follow. People become detached from the material world and intensify their service. Also, as Srila Prabhupada says in the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 2nd chapter, and 7th verse, the bhakti cult is meant for the realization of the positive form. When the positive form is realized, the negative forms are automatically eliminated.
Okay, you see, positive form, negative form. Positive form is Krishna and his eternal pastimes. Negative form is what you see in the movies, what you see in, Disneyland, Wild Waters, all these different places. That's all. Huh? Wild Waves, I'm sorry. Yeah. So, the positive form, see, everything you're seeing has a form, right? But you have to be able to differentiate between a positive form and a negative form, or something spiritual and something material. Go ahead.
So, therefore, with the development...
Okay, one second. Material means you don't see its connection to Krishna. That's a material thing. And spiritual means you see the connection to Krishna, and then you know how to use that thing in Krishna's service. Okay, go ahead.
Therefore, with the development of the bhakti cult, with the application of positive service to the positive form, one naturally becomes detached from inferior things, and he becomes attached to superior things. That is the sign of a pure devotee. Therefore, pure devotees in bhakti yoga show immediate symptoms of knowledge and detachment.
Nice. Very good. What is this? Oh. Okay, go ahead, Ria.
Okay. Bhakti yoga is the ultimate perfection of all yogas. It is full spiritual knowledge and nothing can excel it. The stage of highest perfection in yoga can be attained only by bhakti yoga. Other yogas such as karma yoga, dhyana yoga, and astanga yoga are only progressions to bhakti yoga. In Bhagavad Gita 6.47, Krishna says, "Of all yogis, the one with great faith, who always follow my instructions, remembering me within himself and renders transcendental loving service to me, is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. As Kedisama Astanga yoga is lacking self-knowledge, empiric knowledge, jnana yoga without surrender to the Supreme Lord is also imperfect. And fruitive work, karma yoga without Krishna consciousness is a waste of time. Thus, bhakti yoga is more superior than all other yogas. The two benefits of bhakti yoga are: it is open for our living beings, including the Shudras, Vaishyas, women, and even those lower than the low-born Shudras. 2. One naturally becomes detached from inferior things and becomes attached to superior things, so the negative habits are automatically removed.
Very good. Yes. Oh.
it means bhakti yoga, and yoga actually also means bhakti yoga, and all other forms of yoga are progression towards the destination of bhakti yoga. So when we look at the yoga ladder, karma yoga, which is like fruitive results without acting in Krishna consciousness, is like waste of time. And when karma yoga increases in knowledge and renunciation, it leads to Gyan yoga. So Gyan yoga, basically empirical knowledge without surrender to the supreme soul, is also not perfect. And when it increases on meditation, when we increases the meditation on super soul, it leads to Ashtanga yoga. But asceticism without self knowledge is also imperfect. And when all these yogas surpasses, so bhakti yoga or Krishna consciousness, which is like focusing everything on the ultimate truth of life, is the ultimate perfection of yoga, as it is full of spiritual knowledge and nothing can excel it. Bhakti is the supermost occupation of human being. So therefore, to become Krishna consciousness is the highest stage of yoga, per Bhagavad Gita 6.46 and 47. Just as we speak of Himalaya, we refer to the highest mountain. So of all the yogas, Bhakti Yoga is the highest. And the two bigger benefits of engaging in Bhakti Yoga are that one gets knowledge and detachment. One becomes detached from material affection and become attached to the spiritual activities.
Good.
I just read the story.
Okay.
So in science, we were learning about the sun. We are beginning to learn about the sun, earth, and moon. So whenever we begin a new lesson, we always talk about what we know and what we want to know. So in that proportion of time, we were talking about what we want to know about the sun, moon, and earth. So when my teacher called on someone, when my teacher called on someone, she asked where the sun came from. And then everyone started blasting out the same thing. Can you guess? The Big Bang. Oh wait, hold on, that's not right. Oh yeah, it's the Big Bum. Then I realized, hold on, I've heard that before. Where was it from? Oh yeah, it was from Harivilas Maharaj's class. Then he mentioned it that the sun did not come from the Big Bum, and it was one of Krishna's creations. Then I, out of 22 students in the classroom, 23 including my teacher, said God. And then everyone started disagreeing with me. No, it's the Big Bang. How do you know that? Huh? Are you an idiot or what? It's the Big Bang. And everyone in my class was only 9 or 10. I did not say anything because I didn't know the full concepts of that. And I also knew that if I answered, this conversation would never stop. So the class and I just continued on.
Very good. I want you to send that to me. What? Oh, I got the paper here. No, but email it. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. We're Srila Prabhupada, and we'll see you tomorrow. I hope. Hare Krishna. I hope you see me tomorrow.